In the year 2120, a new planet was discovered, floating around near the boundary of the solar system. The planet appeared to be a rogue, traveling aimlessly in the galaxy. Humanity was soon stunned by the physical appearance of this planet. According to the detailed photographs taken by satellites sent out to investigate the planet's physical appearance highly resembled that of Earth, and there were clusters of architectures and water all over the surface of the planet. However, none of the satellites were able to capture any visuals or lives on the planet. Fascinated by the signs of extraterrestrial lives, major forces around the world established a research lab led by NASA, which was then dedicated to the investigation of the planet. The planet was soon given the name of Mars. After 3 years, the Research Association decided to launch a project, Catpollo, that forever changed humanity's perspective of the universe. 3 astronauts were chosen to be sent out onto Mars for further investigation before it traveled too far away from our solar system.
Hello. My name is Dr. Baron von Koh. Some of you might know me as the astronaut that went to Mars, and yes, I am the astronaut that went to Mars. Now this is a documentary of my journey to Mars, and I would like you to come with me to the project Catpollo.
Following our initial discovery and research efforts, and after our shuttle mission to investigate our findings firsthand, my team and I excited the world upon the arrival on Mars. We put on our spacesuits, prepared the supplies, and stepped out of the door into the blue-tinted starlight. The sky was full of numerous gases and quantities that would not allow us to breathe it for any prolonged period of time, and would probably likely give us illness if we attempted to. The surface of the planet was completely frozen. My team and I immediately noticed the varieties of minerals that dominated the landscape in a manner that is similar to plants on Earth. The space vehicle landed near one of the older developed cities. We carefully traveled through the city, attempting to search for extraterrestrial lives with a life measuring device. However, our search was indicated that lives were absent from the city. The city was constructed in a way that modeled constellations with the larger building placement, and the inhabitants had preferred stone structures. Many of the buildings were what appeared to be pyramids, some of them were temples, and most of them appeared partially damaged. Consequently, we suspected that the species had a preference for a more natural look to the buildings, despite appearing to have more advanced technology than the human species prior to their demise. We then carefully examined the damages that were made to the buildings and the environment. In our initial research, it appeared that massive lightning storms, coupled with floods, eradicated the civilization and species. But we wanted to examine the findings more closely in an attempt to determine if this was correct, or if other factors had any significant role. We proceeded to enter the structures in order to discover more about this dormant civilization. The insides of the buildings were degraded from years of lacking maintenance. The damages of the supposed floods were clearly visible. Though this was strong evidence towards our eradication hypothesis, we soon discovered something significant. With this crumbling ruins, we discovered dozens of hidden cameras inside almost every building. Unlike the buildings which were chipped away by the weather, the cameras were advanced and in good condition, forcing us to believe that perhaps these species were not as primitive as we thought. We took the cameras from the buildings back to our space vehicle for detailed investigation, and we soon found out that each camera has an unknown measuring device inside its processor. We were able to recover some digital files from the devices, but the files were encoded in some unknown video format. We spent 3 days in the space vehicle attempting to decode the digital files, and we eventually managed to recover a whole library of video files that showed some of their stages of development, thanks to the assistance from the CSE department of UCSD. Their whole body, including their faces, were covered by their clothing, making them almost physically identical to us. In addition, the living creatures on Mars had little or no interaction with each other because they were all focusing on their work individually. Our team were then shocked by the next couple of frames we saw. The measuring device inside the camera measured the populace mental states, personalities, and the probability that individuals commit crimes and rebel the authority using a conscious scan of their brains. It then outputted a score for each populace captured by the camera representing the level of stability of their mental states. If some populace's score was about the standard level, they would be immediately removed and isolated from the society by the authority. My team and I realized that this is not some ordinary civilization that resembles any current civilization on Earth. The creatures on Mars were trying to construct a utopian civilization.
A civilization is generally defined as an advanced state of human society, in which a high level of culture, science, industry, and government have been reached. The civilization on Mars certainly satisfies all the criteria of a civilization. In addition, by constructing an utopian civilization, they achieve a high level of stability. The living creatures on Mars only focus on their individual task to build a better society, and all of them are under camera surveillance at all times. The authority ensures that there will be no conflicts and rebellions in the development of the civilization using advanced technology. However, they overlook another important factor that contributes to the long-term survival of the civilization, the environmental factor.
Although these forms of technology depicted by the camera seemed to be very advanced, the civilization was not aware of the consequences of industrialization towards their environment. While we were going over the last of the camera recordings, we saw many issues of water flooding problems. It started at the lowest floor of these buildings, which at first these alien species did not mind. Because the rogue planet had no orbit, the climate of the planet occasionally changed based on its position relative to larger stars. But it wasn't until what we were guessing maybe a few months where there was a panic from the masses due to a level of environment change never experienced before, as the first and second levels of the buildings were starting to flood with water. The aliens used advanced technology in order to force the water back into ice and reclaim stability, but that wasn't enough. The alien civilization had no knowledge as to why the planet heated up so suddenly to allow the surface to melt at such a drastic rate, but we do.
We saw that as time went on, they began to industrialize and increase productivity through more technology. Obviously when they did this, more energy was being produced. What does this have to do with the floodings? Well, our second law of thermodynamics tells us that an increase of energy usage increases entropy. Entropy is when the quantity of energy remains the same, for energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but the quality of energy deteriorates gradually over time. Entropy is this unusable energy that is now being absorbed by the surroundings. Now, this entire civilization built their homes, buildings, and their entire lives on this frozen ice, so with the sudden exponential increase in heat, it's no surprise where all that flooding water came from.
The very last few scenes from the video files show that the civilization was in a state of panic. This entire planet that was covered in ice is now on a water level of about 1.5 stories. Not to mention that since the entire place was covered in ice, they did not know the first thing about swimming or floating. These aliens were literally drowning to death one by one. Saddened by the evidence of their extinction, my team and I confirmed that we wouldn't be able to find any intelligent life on Mars. After collecting various substances and studying samples from Mars, we traveled back to Earth before our space vehicle ran out of energy. The journey to Mars was a profound success in space science. Humanity has now discovered that they were not the only advanced civilization in the universe. Although the discovery of civilization on Mars changed our perception of ourselves and things in the galaxy, the extinction of the civilization serves as a warning to human species. Considering how the development and extinction of civilization might reflect on the future of humanity in the present time, it implies that natural disasters and technological developments could together lead to or facilitate an extinction event of some kind at any time. The universe is very, very limited. We are constantly losing usable energy, never gaining. Our increase in technology consequently is forcing our world to absorb energy. Global warming, greenhouse gas emissions, even our sea levels rising just like the planet Mars. If we do not pay close attention to these potential threats to humanity, we it could perhaps become the next topic of the next documentary film of extinction civilizations.